Welcome back to the Aimmee Kardashian and the Expert Show, where we bring some of the top experts in the world to help you transform your business and personal life. My name is Aimmee Kardashian, not Kardashian.
And I am your co-host, Stephanie Thompson. I'm a classically trained singer-songwriter. This is the second segment of 4 segments. In the first segment, we talked about your inner beauty and what is authentic inner beauty. And this next segment, we're going to be talking about how does the media affect young girl or young woman's image of themselves. With Mitzi Reed, she wrote this book, Awaken to Your Inner Authentic Beauty.
Yes, and comes from experience. So share with us, how is the media affect women and young girls?
Well, like I say, in the first segment, as far as my own personal story, was that I kind of grew up in the Twiggy era at that point, where before it was more the Jane Russell and the Marilyn Monroe, more the voluptuous type of people. And so as growing up, I'm looking at teen magazines, and I'm, in Vogue, and I'm looking at all these magazines, and I'm seeing all these images.
You want to compare yourself
and
to
I wanted
them.
to compare myself. And I kept saying how fat I was, and, excuse me. Excuse me. I started saying how fat I was. My legs, they're pretty muscular because I was in gymnastics and cheerleading, and they're short. So I'm never going to have those long, skinny model legs, and so it affected me as a teenager. And like I said, now when I look back on those pictures that I had before, I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, you were beautiful.
I was beautiful,
yeah.
And so when I started doing research for this book, there was a study done by People magazine a few years ago that said that 80% of the women who were watching media shows, movies, or looking at magazines, that they ended up being insecure after watching or looking at these magazines.
It does affect, believe it or not. Yeah.
And back then when I was growing up, I didn't know about like photoshopping or any of that kind of stuff. I don't think photoshopping was actually the term, but they did, doctor up the photos a little bit, and now it's definitely photoshopped, and yet we still are bombarded with these images, and whether it's smooth skin or absolutely no scars, things like that, it's all photoshopped. No cellulite. Well, most of us do have cellulite.
Yes.
And it's okay. It's just part of us. And the way I was looking at it is, I have scars, from having children, and scars from it's my battle scars. I'm actually proud of having those scars. It showed that, as far as me
you were a mother, and you gave birth, and
exactly,
you're a human. We're a human being. You're pretty from inside, and that's the most important part. And
exactly.
People miss it,
And just recently, I saw this. This video of this woman who actually wanted to become like a Barbie, so she has had hundreds. Yeah, did you?
It is
hundreds.
So sad.
It is.
It
hundreds
is so
of
sad.
Operations just to look like Barbie, and then she's talking about having another one, and she ended up going to an extreme that she had her ribs, removed, so that her waist can be smaller.
Those doctors who does that, they should refuse.
Yes, exactly.
Literally. That is so sad.
So, when is enough? And my thing, and I touch upon it in the book, as far as the media and letting the media know, what you like, what you don't like. If you see something in the media that's exploiting women, or degrading, or portraying women in not such a good in a good way, then explain that to them, and say that, hey, I won't buy your product.
Don't support that.
Exactly.
Don't support it. Yeah.
And then when you do see, there was a woman just recently, Ashley Graham, I believe it is, was on Sports Illustrated. She's considered a plus size model, and it's the first time.
I love that.
Yes.
I really admire that so much, because how about this plus size? They're a human being. They're beautiful from inside, but yet we judge from the outside, and that's horrible. I don't believe we should measure somebody from how they look.
No, we shouldn't. So it was really nice. She's very beautiful, and of all the there was so many positive comments. So that's what the media needs to hear is those kind of comments.
That is okay. We're gonna support that as well. We're gonna support the other models.
Right. And, I want to emphasize, too, is just, as far as my book, as far as my journey, my emphasis is on, self-care and being healthy and the best you that you could be. And, if you're taking small steps to become healthy and everything, that's good. I believe in self-care.
What I notice about your book is you have a lot of space where people actually could write down, they kind of like exercise for themselves. It's not just you're telling them, do this and do that, and this is how you're going to get there. They're going to find out by doing some kind of work.
Correct.
And that's the only one way you could really improve your life, by doing work yourself, because we don't know other people. I mean, we're both in self-development. We cannot really know the other person, how they're thinking and why they're thinking. The best way to do it is to ask questions and get you to answer the questions from yourself. And I think that's what you're doing in your book.
Right. I don't just, gloss over the, surface stuff. I really start asking questions to help you think about, where did all this come from in your life? And how do you overcome the negative body image? Whatever that might be. That could be, maybe you think you're too thin, too fat. Maybe you think, your nose is too big. Maybe you think, like, me years ago, my legs are too short and too stocky. It could be anything, and how I wrote this book was as far as a 365-day kind of book, so you can open it anywhere and then you can look at it and it's inspiration for the day. And it may ask you a question to kind of, get you thinking.
Get you thinking and write down your answers for those questions. It's very important.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so you were mentioning how you can send messages to the media about how you feel about their, portrayal of what beauty is. Do you think that with, for example, this Sports Illustrated magazine, that maybe the tide is shifting, that maybe they're seeing more in the future, that you're going to see more of that kind of thing, that we're starting to shift our perspective a little bit and see what's what is true beauty?
Yes, I do see a trend shifting, and it's actually shifted all throughout the years, through the centuries. I mean, centuries ago, when you had the kings, back then, I mean, it was, the more thicker woman, the voluptuous woman. And then, it started, thinning out a little bit and then thinning out. And like I said, then we got to, the voluptuous Jane Russell.
They took it too far.
And now, the Twiggy, and they took it too far. And so I do see a shift, because I see that people are starting to accept the outer beauty and the inward beauty. And I remember back, I think it was in the 80s, when it was basically very cool to be have that athletic looking body, and so we did a lot of the jazzercise and we did all those kind of things. But I do see another shift, and I think it's great. And I don't condone being morally obese where you're not healthy. I condone us shining our beauty, accepting who we are right now.
And also, I don't think you're against. We both have makeup on, and we all have makeup. We're not saying, she's not saying don't take care of yourself, don't look good, don't do your hair, don't dress right, to look your best. But look your own best, not more than that. You don't have to go and be somebody else. That's what you're saying.
Yes, and
so take care of yourself, it's fine, but not to do more than that.
Do more.
When we come back, we'll be talking about more.
We're going to be talking more about authentic inner beauty, and we're going to be talking about sacred self-care.
Great subject.
With Mitzi Reed.
Great subject. So I hope you stay tuned. We'll be right back.